Hi everyone, Dimitri here. I am making one more video about the concept of shadow because I have received questions about it, and I feel like maybe sometimes I'm jumping too far in my concepts and I don't explain the basics. And if it's the case, I thank you for asking for complimentary info. Out of passion, I will skip steps at times and it's confusing. The shadow. Forget about the shadow at the moment. Your mind is a complex organism, some of which made of different parts, some of which you have control of and some of which you don't have control of. The parts that you have control of is called the conscious mind. You can decide to make a live video about the shadow. You can decide to watch a video, not watch a video. You can decide to go shopping. You can decide to cook a meal for yourself. That's the conscious mind. There is a part in the mind that you are not, or several parts in the mind that you're not going to control, called the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is going to make decisions for you, which is surprising. We think the conscious mind is the decision maker, but it's not. The conscious mind analyzes the landscape around ourselves and makes minor decisions. For example, if you're hungry, your conscious mind will decide if you want to have tofu as a good vegan or salad. But it's not going to decide that you're hungry. Your unconscious mind is deciding that you're hungry. The conscious mind only controls the parameters. And so your unconscious mind itself has a structure with several parts. There's the inner child, the center of the emotions. There is the inner parent, the center of authority and morality. And there's the inner spirit, which is the part of you that is concerned with essence and existence. And in that, there will be another part called the shadow. And the shadow is first in the shadow because we can't access it because it's unconscious. And it is also the shadow because it is repressed. It is not accepted in society. People don't want to know that the shadow is here. And the shadow, finally, is your dark side. That's the most important part. Because your shadow is repressed. People don't want to hear about your shadow in society, and it is repressed. And so your shadow will still want to express itself. Your shadow is an inner child. It's the inner child inside you that is trying to say something, and everybody is shushing that child because he's being chaotic, he's being rebel. People don't want to hear about him or them. And so that shadow becomes your dark side. It will find sneaky ways to express its message because its message is not welcome. And so the shadow is the part of you and your mind that carries the wound that you've received as a child. We all carry some type of wound. It can be a major wound, it can be a small wound, but we all carry a certain wound that conditions our personality. And the shadow carries that wound. The ego and the shadow carries that wound. I'm not going to go into detail about the ego and the shadow. They're pretty much the same thing. And so the shadow is the wounded inner child in you that is going to make decisions, and bad decisions, is going to crave addictions, is going to want to be loud, to harm other people. It doesn't intend to harm other people, but it does so because it expresses itself in ways that are less than ideal because it is repressed. And the shadow is going to consume pornography. When you are watching pornography, that part of you that has no morality, part of you that only wants this raw sex and very particular sex that we see in pornography, is your shadow. It is not a metaphor. It is not a complex concept. You become that person. These parts of your brain have identities. You become these people. You become these entities. As I speak to you right now, I'm speaking from my inner parent, from my caring parent. I'm explaining you something that I have expertise on. And you take that on board as the learner. So typically an inner child who is learning. I'm not saying you're a child. I'm saying your inner child is learning from my inner parent. But in pornography, the archetype that is active, that part of the mind, is the shadow. You become your shadow. And if you think about if someone blasting the room as you're watching pornography, they'll probably see another person than who you are in social life. That is because you become someone different. As you consume pornography, you embody your shadow, you become your shadow, and you're a different person to who you are usually. And the reason why pornography feels so good to the shadow is that it's the realm where the shadow can express itself. For so people like you and I who are addicted to pornography or recovered addicts, that was the medium. For some people it would be violence. For some people it would be indulging into food, whatever it is. So the shadow has the control, the decision making over you. That's why you fall into addictions. The shadow carries the wound. It is not an abstract concept. It is an actual thing. It is an actual persona inside you that is taking control over your body. There are several people inside your mind, and your body will be inhabited by these entities inside your mind. And the goal of a brain at peace, the goal of the Zen, the goal of being conscious is that all these entities inside you are at peace. That is the only goal. And eventually you want to be able to talk with your shadow to hear what it wants to say. The only reason why the shadow is so chaotic is because it wants to say something, but it's always repressed, and so it's not allowed to express itself. But if you hear the shadow, if you ask your shadow, your unconscious, hey shadow, tell me what's the message? What do you want? Your message is not heard. I love you. What is it that you want to tell me? Then your shadow will speak to you, and you'll be able to dialogue with the shadow and integrate your shadow. Okay? So the shadow is not some mystical concept that doesn't exist or that is some flimsy philosophical concept. It's whom you become when you become this animal, when you surrender to the violence, the anger, the emotions, the negative emotions. That is the shadow. It's not to be repressed and ejected. It is to be dialogued with and integrated. So I just wanted to re-explain that. I think this is a video for my group and it's gone to my wall, and it's absolutely fine. We all carry a shadow that expresses itself differently, and it is important to dialogue with the shadow. I invite you to dialogue with the shadow. How do you do that? You can just ask yourself. You can just ask the shadow before going to sleep, hey shadow, in a dream, tell me what it is that would make you feel really, really good. And you can address the need that the shadow has not addressed. So I hope this helps. If there's any more question about the shadow, please ask me out. Please ask me. It is critical. If you understand that when you're watching pornography, your shadow is in the game, you'll understand why you do all these crazy things. It's not you, it's your shadow. And the reason why any concept of morality comes through the window and breaking my tripod is because the shadow doesn't care about morality. The inner parent cares about morality. The shadow doesn't care about morality at all. So any moral concept goes through the window as the shadow expresses itself. All right, this is a long-winded video to talk about the shadow. If you have any question, please, happy to answer all your questions. There are ways you can really go deep and address anything that has been repressed or suppressed in the back of your unconscious mind, but it's not the topic of this video. Any question about the shadow, please ask away. I'd love to hear them. Thank you. Enjoy your day.